Welcome to the Networking Spark. I'm really excited that you're here. Today, I'm going to be interviewing Kevan, who is not just a social media strategist, he's also been on a journey from being an international world champion in men's physique fitness to a place where he never thought he was going to walk again and has come on a total turnaround journey to where he is today. You don't want to miss this. Wonderful. So for this very first podcast for the Networking Spark, super excited to have an amazing guest here, the amazing Kevan. Thank you so much for being here on the very first ever podcast. I'm going to say cheers. We're going to be very naughty.
I know. Just introducing me as fitness coach, online fitness coach with a glass of Prosecco in his hand.
So life is about balance, right? So
absolutely.
Can you tell us, Kieran, about your daily habits that you bring in every day to keep yourself being the best version of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what do I do on the daily to keep me at tip-top performance? I think nutrition, definitely a big part, and routine. Routine is like paramount for me over everything. If I fall out of my routine, I seem to fall out of life a little bit. So having routine definitely equals results and just drives everything towards the next step. It's all about the next step, isn't it? I think life's just about the next step.
Indeed. How strict are you with yourself?
With a glass of Prosecco in my hand, not that strict enough, because I come from the background of like heavy fitness, of competing in bodybuilding and men's physique and competing at a very high level. But then coming out of that and having to learn to be almost like human again and eat normally but maintain a decent physique and have that balance. I think you have to be less strict. You have to let go a little bit, but there is an in between. There's a fine line that you can draw where you can still have that physique that helps you with life, because that's the foundation of success for me, is your body. And if you're happy and healthy and fit, you can deal with so much more.
There is an element of men's mental health around, I'm hearing a lot of this, more and more so. And I'm a big believer that when you look after your physical health, that sorts out your mental health as well.
Definitely. And I don't think without fitness, I would be where I am today. I don't think I would have half of what I have today without it, 'cause it gives you that balance and that structure. And it also helps you it's like self-medicating fitness, because you produce those endorphins and I'm having a shit day, I'm tired, I've done non-stop back-to-back calls, my social battery is flat. But what's a good thing to de-stress and detox? Go to the gym, have that social element, train, release those endorphins, fire up the system, good to go for the next day. And you come out fresh and level-headed. And that's the best feeling in the world.
Totally agree. I agree. So,
but you must have the same thing, because you're in a similar.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, which is why I'm asking you about it. Yeah, there is balance in life where you might have a little prosecco
on
to
a
celebrate.
Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, well, this is our first ever podcast, so why not? This is the celebration, but at the same time, you've got to keep that balance going as well. And I know that you're going to be on my case next week, or maybe this week even.
It'll be the moment I leave here now. Yeah. I mean, I'm be at the gym for 6-7 tonight, so it's okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the pre-workout.
So Kieran, tell me, what is your passion? What drives you to be successful?
What is my passion? I mean, fitness is my passion, but so is business. Fitness, business, and keep achieving. I think that's really important. It's like, what can you do next? What can you do next? What can you do next? And that drives you forward. So I think you can get stuck and flatline a little bit. And it depends who you are, because some people like that and they're very happy to just settle and do what they want for however long. But I'm a big believer in like always pushing yourself forward, putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and just keep climbing that staircase, just one step at a time. That's the biggest thing I always say to a lot of my clients as well, actually, or people I work with or come across, is whatever goal you set, always focus on the next step, not the whole staircase, because it becomes really overwhelming, becomes too much. But if you can just complete that first step and that second step and that third step. And then before you know it, you're at the top of the staircase and you set another goal and you go again, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, amazing. Tell us a little bit about your journey, Kieran.
Where do you want to start?
Well, you were talking about competing.
Yeah.
So where did let's start from your whole
Birth.
journey. Yeah, from when you were born.
When I came
Do you
out.
remember that?
Cool. So we'll fast forward it until I was probably about 6. So I was really naughty at school, terrible. I didn't pass like any GCSEs really. I failed PE, which is probably really surprising given my current state of work and background. But I was terrible at school. Didn't get any GCSEs. Failed maths, English, science. Didn't pay any attention. Hated it. Hated being told what to do.
Often the sign of an entrepreneur, someone that fails at school, I
Okay.
found from personal experience.
Actually, yeah. To be fair, with people I've spoke to, probably
Mm.
because you know what you want, and everything else doesn't seem that important.
Mm.
I think that's kind of
And you
it.
don't want to fit in the box.
No, fuck
that
the
e-
box.
Yeah, and that's the issue these days is they want all the kids to fit in the box, right?
Yeah, not everybody can be taught in the same way. I
Mm.
can't be sit and dictated to. I have to be physical and do stuff and be shown.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I can learn.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the job is more of a learning experience than behind a book for me.
Mm.
So fast forward through school,
So
not
you
good.
left with no qualifications.
Left with no qualifications. Went to college to do business studies. 3 days in, they asked me to write a 3,000-word essay. I was like, fuck this noise, and walked out of the class. And they stopped me and they're like, you have to do something, Kieran. You can't leave at like 16 with like no further education.
Yeah.
They're like, we've got space available in sport. I was like, yeah, I kind of like sport. I can give that a go. And then that's kind of what I would say like saved me
Mm.
getting into that. Then I went to a gym in Kettering, which was the owner, Vince Celiandro, who owns that gym. I owe a lot to him because he said to me, you've got really good potential. You could definitely compete in my shows. 2 years later down the line at 18, I did my first bodybuilding show at Wigsea Park in Kettering. And I remember competing in that, and it was just the most terrifying thing because you got to be in like speedos, you're tanned up, you've been practicing all this stuff, and you're only little, really. Now I think about it, like 18 is young.
Yeah, you've still got some growing to do.
Yeah, you're
at
a baby
18.
at 18, and I remember doing that, and that was really fun. And I went and ended up winning my category, which was massive for me at the time.
Wow.
And then it just snowballed, and I got obsessed, and it was like all or nothing. I have a very much all or nothing mentality. And then that was it really. It was like next competition, next competition, next competition.
That was a really good start. Must have been a massive confidence booster.
Absolutely.
What do you think would have happened if you didn't find sport or if you lost that competition? Or just if you didn't find sport, what do you think would have happened?
I dread to think what would have happened, to be honest, because I wouldn't say I come from a bad background, but there's not a lot of opportunity. You kind of have to create that opportunity. And I think that's what gave me the vision to be like, you can do way more than a 9 to 5 if that's what you want.
Mm.
Like, you can achieve anything.
It's amazing to think back to that like sliding doors scenario and to think, well, life could have gone one way or another.
Yeah.
And like right now, you're super successful, you've got loads of clients, you're brilliant at what you do. So it's, I bet you look back and think, thank goodness that one teacher suggested I do
Yeah.
sport, right?
Thank God they stopped me.
Mm.
Thank God for Vince as well at the gym and pushing me.
Yeah.
So I always look for those role models. And my coach, Brandon Marjoram, who picked me up as well when I was like 18, 19. And then they took me through the bodybuilding. And then I changed to men's physique, which was very new at the time. And then I ended up winning that. And it was mental. And then I went on to win the British, the international. And then we started competing abroad, which was nuts for me because I never had any opportunity like this. And it was all paid for by the UKDFBA at the time, which is the federation. And they sponsored you and took you out. And I remember getting to LA in 2017. And this is the biggest like show of my life. Like, this is it. We're going to be world champions. Super excited. It's the biggest thing. All of the countries there, Germany, America, Brazil, everyone didn't even get a call out, didn't even place, didn't come close. And it was fucking devastating because you got to think you've gone out as there as Team GB and there's like 20 to 30 people, everyone's placing, getting awards, and you've not even been called out. And that's what everyone sees the victory, but nobody sees the defeat and how much that sucks.
Mm.
But we bit the bullet. We took some time. We went back to the drawing board. We saw what maybe had gone wrong. Went back the next year, won the British, won the international, came back, went to Boston, then won the Worlds.
Amazing. Well, cheers to you.
There we go.
Cheers, Kieran.
Thank you very
That
much.
is worth celebrating.
Relive that little journey.
Yeah, fantastic.
And that's what showed me, because I was like, that's mental to be world champion. So you're the best in the world at something. I mean, you can do anything. If you can do that and you can get on stage and you can win and be that world champion, why can't you make £1 million? Why can't you go buy that house or get that car?
Exactly. So what would you say to a younger guy who is lacking in confidence, that is full of potential, but is lacking in confidence?
I think one of the biggest things for me, because I wasn't that confident when I was younger, believe it or not, it took some time to get that confidence and grow. One of the biggest things that actually helped me to become confident was working at Next in retail.
Okay.
And they put me on the tills in women's wear, and I had to talk to people then. Like, you had no choice. That was a big one for me. Like,
do you think that contributed to the way that you are now in being slightly metro?
Having my nails done.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But also, I never lived with my dad.
Okay.
I only was brought up by my mum.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So listening to Westlife and all that jazz just through my mum, because my dad was around, don't get me wrong, he came up every other weekend, but I never lived with him.
Yeah.
So I think having like a lot of women around me constantly and being brought up by women was a big thing for me.
So are you close to your mum?
Yeah, I love my mum, for sure.
Oh.
Always. But yeah, mum's number one. She's been massive support to me my whole life.
So.
Let's not cry though on this podcast.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So Kieran, this is called the Networking Spark. So I need to ask you about networking.
Yeah.
Networking obviously gets you to meet lots and lots of different people and can open so many doors and pathways and connections. So I'd love to ask you, what's your experience of networking, and what is the best connection you've ever had via networking, and where's that taken you?
That's a great question. I honestly think it's all genuinely about who you know, not what you know. If you know people in an industry and you get to know people and you can make that connection, it's so much easier to get your foot in the door with anything and take that next step. It's all about that next step, and you just got to open yourself up. And reverting back to what you said prior about what would you say to somebody younger who lacks confidence, is some people aren't that confident. They're just very brave. And I think that's a big thing to focus on. When somebody runs in the Olympics for the first time, they're going to be fucking terrified. 100%. When they public speak for the first time, they will be fucking terrified. When you do anything that's out of your comfort zone, you will be terrified, and you just have to be brave. It's normal to be anxious. It's normal to get anxiety. You just need to overcome it and go for it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? Where you fumble a few lines, you don't quite get to the next thing, where you pick yourself up and keep moving forward. It's like Rocky. You keep pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, you like do something that terrifies you.
Yeah,
every day, right?
For
you
sure.
Jump in and you do it, and then it's not terrifying anymore.
No,
and then it becomes easier and easier, and the confidence builds.
Then it's exciting.
Yeah,
you're like, I can't wait to do this thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's getting past that wall of fear, isn't it? Definitely. And that's the first step, or the first leap. Like when you're a kid and you're too scared to jump off the high kind of jump into the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Right. But you do it once, and then you do it again, and then it's fun. And
then
it's
you can't
exciting.
Stop doing it. Next thing you're back flipping off that diving board.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly. But there is something, I think, about surrounding yourself with really good people. You are the sum of the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And therefore, with networking, it can really build your connections and get you inspired by the people that you are surrounding yourself with. So tell us about the people that you surround yourself with.
Good. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I have a very mixed group of friends, for sure. There's different friendship groups that I definitely have. But then I have a lot of people who I work with outside of fitness, within the social media world, that I work with, and I contract for a lot of people. And there's big CEOs, there's big CCOs of $1 billion companies. There's even down to fitness professionals, professional athletes. And it's having the experience of each area. And you get to see how that person holds and conducts himself, and you can learn from that. That's been a big thing for me. And I always find that in every scenario, no matter where you are and who you're with, it is just the best to be kind at all times, because you will leave an imprint on somebody. And even maybe if you're not the best in the world at what you do, but you are great to work with and you're a kind person, you care, which I actually think's really hard to find in somebody, and they're gonna have you back for sure.
Mm.
I think it's quite difficult. I think in this world where it's quite cutthroat and there's a lot of
In my,
competition.
in my world, it's all peace and love
Nice.
with yoga teachers.
Well, maybe I need to get out of Kettering for a little bit, but there's definitely a lot of cutthroat in social media, especially,
Yeah,
and in competition.
that was bringing me on to where I was leading you actually. So you've been through this journey of personal fitness and winning competitions and being really great at what you do there. And obviously that's one side of what you do. How did you get into social media?
It's a good story. So 2017, world champion, living the dream, fucking great stuff. Come back off tour from Dubai with my sponsors, have a week off the gym, or maybe two. I can't quite remember. Go to the gym on the 1st of January 2018 with my best friend Brett Coe. Shout out to Brett if you're listening. What happens? Deadlift, not even heavy for me, like 180 for like a couple reps, slip both my discs. Torn disc L5S1 with associated annular tear, no contact but no compression. I remember that so vaguely because I have to say it to so many doctors, and that killed my career. Dead in the water, lose my sponsors, lose everything. Can't barely walk, can't sit down, nerve pain all down my legs. Go from 14 stone of like jacked muscle down to 11 stone wet through, can't do anything,
Wow.
which was a complete mind fuck at the time because I was so dead set on being this athlete that this was going to be my career. This is everything. I'm doing really well. Going for it. Next step, next step, next step. And then bang,
And how old are
gone.
you here?
24.
Okay. Gosh, that must have been a right punch in the face, right?
To say the least.
Mm.
And then off the back of that, getting like hooked on like pain meds and God knows what else to get through it. Because genuinely, people do not understand that as a horrendous injury, which causes a lot of pain. And I remember not even being able to sit down for more than like 20 minutes, like bursting into tears because of the pain. It's agonizing. And then I had to rehabilitate myself over those 2 years. But to answer your question, where I'm going with this is I had my own personal brand at the time as an athlete on Instagram and everything like that. And I started helping TNT Supplements, who I worked for at the time, was sponsored by Build Theirs. And then I started to think, okay, there's something in this. Like social's getting big now, like 2017, 18. People are starting to use it for work more and personal brand. Started do some freelance stuff. Worked at a beauticians, or male beauticians as well, and started to launch all of theirs and grow that. Of course, I did.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
then doing more of the social. And then Rob Moore took a real chance with me and gave me a big opportunity to run his company's social media, Progressive Property and Progressive Success and everything, and build them up. And then started to run his personal brand and his podcast. And then it just grew, and we were doing collaborations with Meta and doing collaborations with big paid advertising and everything like that. And you just learn. I just learned on the job and kept going and kept growing because Rob was like, if you've been able to grow your following to X, Y, Z amount on your own at your age, I'm sure you can do it for me. And I was like, I guarantee I can do it for you.
Amazing.
And then to be fair, Rob gave me my first chance at social for sure.
How did you meet Rob?
I applied for the job. And it was a heavy process to meet him, to go through his like CEO and head of operations, and then I got to meet Rob after I watched a couple of his YouTube videos, so I knew enough about him, and then we just clicked instantly. I just really liked him, and you were saying about being around the people who you should be around, the 5 people who are going to influence you the most.
Yep.
Rob did that for me.
Yeah.
So it gave me a huge insight into how does somebody become this successful. They don't work a 9 to 5.
No.
They work day to day. Like it does not stop. Every hour is diarized. Everything's planned. There is downtime, but there's not really any days off because it's constant. But he loves it. And you have to love what you do to make it more achievable.
Yeah. And there's the thing, isn't it? If you're passionate about what you do, then it doesn't become work. Like the difference between an entrepreneur living their passion to somebody that's going and doing a 9 to 5 is huge.
Yeah.
And often the entrepreneur will be working all the time, and someone looking in will be saying, but hold on, you're working all the time. But they don't care, because when you do what you love, then life and work becomes one, right?
Yeah. And people say like, oh, you're spinning so many plates. How do you do it? But I would never not want to be spinning those plates,
Mm.
because you want that. And imagine if that was all taken away from you. And all I think back to is when I had my back injury and everything was taken from me. That reminds me of that. And to get back into the good space and back into pushing forwards and taking the next step and having the competition of business and entrepreneurship and
Mm.
life, that's exciting again.
Mm.
I think that's important. It's growth.
I was going to ask you, who's your role model? If you can think of someone that's your role model, would it be Rob Moore? Or would it be somebody else?
I mean, Rob
So,
was
so you can have a few, but
yeah. I mean, Rob was definitely a big role model for me,
Mm.
for sure. I mean, my coach when I was younger was a big role model for me, Brandon. My biggest role model of all time, I was a big like bodybuilder, Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. So I'd say Arnie, to be
Yeah.
fair. And again, a man of many talents. What you go from bodybuilding to acting to being the governor of California to being this big superstar, just shows you can do anything. He's got a crazy backstory as well. So again, I'm a big believer in, if you want it, you can go and get it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to have a role model, because when you go through those tricky moments, when you get the nose and when you're hitting walls and you feel like throwing the towel in, you can think, well, what would my role model do?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
And it can inspire you to keep going. So,
Yeah, what would Arnie do?
yeah, what would Arnie do?
He'd keep going, get to the
Exactly.
gym, get a pump and go again.
He'd smash it.
Yeah. And I think that is so true.
Mm.
Just got to keep pushing forwards.
So, if you were to close your eyes now and look into the future, where would you like to be in, say, 5 to 10 years' time?
Good question. Where would I love to be in 5 to 10 years' time? I'd like an Aston Martin.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. We can share. Let's go. Big house. I got my little dog Gucci. She wants a garden.
Sorry, what's your dog called?
Gucci.
Okay, not Metro at all.
I'm not met her at all. She's my baby. I love her.
Okay,
Um,
and she
where-
could have come today as well.
yeah, I'm gutted that she didn't come in the end. She looks really pretty as well at the minute. She's had a haircut and stuff.
Oh,
But next time,
we'll have to do a take two then.
yeah,
Bring her along.
she'd come sit on my lap. She'd be good. She'd be really good. But where would I see myself? I'd love to grow my businesses and everything I do in personal brand more. Be speaking on bigger stages about fitness and social media,
Mhm.
and just keep growing that and branch out more and work with bigger brands and keep going and keep building. Take that next step. I think I live in a 2-bed apartment and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I call it the penthouse. It's just a top floor. It's not the penthouse, but we call it the penthouse. And I would like to overtake that and buy the next property and the next property and the next property.
Mhm.
Build like a mini empire.
Mm.
It sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what I want.
It doesn't at all. Each their own. Which brings me to ask you, what are your highest values in life? What are your values that keep you ticking along,
I think
that you live by?
values for me, honesty. It's really important. Don't ever lie about anything. There's no point in lying. You'll get caught out, and you should always be completely honest. I think work ethic's a big one for me, and being just working enough, but understanding the reason for it. Like, why are we doing this? Why are you going to the gym for 2 hours a day? Why do you want to compete in High Rocks this year? Why do you want to have X, Y, Z? Like that understanding. One more value from me. Health is massive. From having it taken away from me briefly, not in a serious way. I haven't been desperately ill, but I was physically unable, which is horrible. And now I appreciate that so much. So this is why I get upset with my clients when they're like, oh, but I'm tired and I don't want to go to the gym today. I'm like, you're so fucking lucky you get to go.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that don't.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think sometimes people need to have something shit happen to them
Yeah.
for them to then find that motivation to like go out there and live life.
Absolutely. I had this conversation yesterday in London about the most successful people have normally been through so much trauma, or I feel like they have, or they've been through some trauma in their life
Yeah.
that's triggered it
Yeah.
and just catapulted them forward.
Yeah.
Because I will never underappreciate a gym session again. Being able to run is a miracle for me. It's nuts. And I'm like, great. I can't wait to get to do that today.
Yeah, I agree. I was also once totally unable to do anything in hospital for a while. And the first thing when I did when I came out was I said, right, I'm going to run a marathon. And I ran two in the end.
Nice.
And that's motivation. When you can't do anything, when that's taken away from you, that's like your freedom.
Yeah.
So,
Especially when it's your life. Like it's your life.
yeah,
That's your thing.
yeah,
And I never
exactly.
knew that about you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kieran, what would you like so we've gone into 5 to 10 years time.
Yeah.
So I've got one other question. Before I go to that last question, with your values, where does money fit in with that? I'd like to ask you about that.
Where does money fit in?
Mm.
I think money's pretty important.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it is what makes the world go round.
Do you think money makes you happy?
Yeah, I do. Without hesitation, yes, I do. Because if you've ever been without money, it's a lot harder than being with money. If you've got expendable income, it's a lot easier when it comes to the end of the month and there's XYZ to pay for. Like when, let's use Gucci as an example, really poorly over Christmas, thought she was going to die. She got pancreatitis. She's a miniature schnauzer. They're really susceptible to this. She didn't move for 2 to 3 days. But those vet's bills were crazy because they're out of hours.
Mm.
But it didn't matter. And they're like, you sure you want to do this? I was like, I don't give a flying fuck. I was like, spend as much as we need. You shouldn't even be asking me these questions. Like, I'm happy to pay for her. But if you're on the other end of that, you didn't have that money, that's going to be a problem.
See, money to me means freedom.
Yes.
And that gives you the freedom to be able to pay for the vet's bills.
Yeah.
And it gives you the freedom to be able to do whatever you need to do. There is something to be said where there can be people living in a totally different society to ours,
Yeah.
where they have no money and they live a very simple life and
Yep.
they can be the happiest people ever.
Yeah, because they almost don't. That sounds terrible. It's not like you don't know what you're missing, but you've not been exposed to what else there is. But then you see that when you go away and you see how happy everyone is with a very minimal state of living, which is, you're envious sometimes of that, I think. But at the same time, everyone's on their own path and it depends what you want out of life.
And sometimes taking yourself away from day-to-day life and responsibilities is a total joy, which brings me on to a question about retreats.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so having led retreats myself, it takes people out of their norm and gives people the bigger picture on their life. But I'd love to know your take on retreats. What do you think are the benefits of going on a retreat? And where would you like to go?
Where would I look? We'll start with benefits and go where to, because the list is never ending. Community is a big thing. People with a similar mindset and community.
Yeah.
Leaving that bodybuilding world and moving more into a fitness world now, where I'm sure everyone listening has heard of High Rocks right now. It's like a massive fitness event, which we're doing in October. And moving into that world and having that community and going to like CrossFit in London after like meetings in offices and stuff, and then go into the changing gyms and being in that community of people who are like-minded, meeting different people. I was in the gym the other day talking to a lad and he was like, yeah, I used to drink and do XYZ. And now I'm just all into this High Rocks and it's changed my life and I don't want to be around that anymore. I'm like, mate, same. Let's go out and do something next week. You come out with me and the boys. It's fine. Not like drinking. We'll just go hiking or something. Because everything changes. And I was like, that's the community I want to be in. And that's what I think you get from retreats.
Again, surrounding yourself with the right type of people. And you tend to find everyone's going there to better themselves and to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to create the opportunity to step away from your business so you can work on it rather than in it? Do you need some rest and restoring time so that you can take some time to look after your body, your health, and your mind and come back stronger and better and full of creative ideas? I'd love to invite you to come on a retreat with me where we have a regular yoga practice. We have some beautiful conversations, meditations, massage, all sorts of wellness practices to really create the best version of you and for you to rest and restore and come back stronger. So if you'd like to learn more, then reach out to me, send me a DM or have a look at my website, yogitribe.com. That's YogiTribe.com, and look at the retreats on there.
So, Kieran, what would you like your legacy to be?
What would I like my legacy to be? Oh, it's like Gladiator.
I mean, even close your eyes for a moment and really think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you want to be remembered?
do you know, I used to think that because I used to have that joke of like, it's probably morbid, but on my tombstone of like world champion. Because that's a big a thing for me. And like, I don't have children. I'm 30 years old and like, I will have children. And I would love them to be like, my dad's was world champion. That's a big thing. I would love that.
To be an inspiration for them.
Yeah. And see that and that work ethic and what you can do and anything's achievable. And what do I want my legacy to be? What do I want to change? To have a lasting impact on the people that I meet and for them to be memorable.
Do you think enough people have their own personal brand?
I don't know. I think it's really important. It opens a lot of doors for you as well. Because if I said to you and you were like, oh, I've got Kieran on the podcast today, first thing someone's going to do is go have a look on social media, who I am. They're going to have a look on Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, everything like that. And then it like adds a layer of authenticity and adds a layer of, what am I looking for here?
See what you're about when you
Yeah.
go and check.
You're like it's like an online brochure
Mhm.
of what you have to offer and what value you can add to the world. So I think personal brand breaks down a lot of doors, creates a lot of opportunity. For
Do you
sure.
think it's important to share the hard stuff on social media as well? Because a lot of people come across as too shiny on social media and just share all the most amazing bits. How important do you think it is to flip that and share something that you're struggling with on social media? Would you recommend that as a social media expert?
I would recommend that to a degree for sure, because everyone has shit days. Everyone has shit times. It depends what industry you're in. I mean, if you're trading stocks, probably not a great idea to tell everyone you're having a terrible time because it could affect your brand a bit more. But if you're having a bad day or a bad week or something's gone wrong and maybe it's been a bit tough, it is good to share because, like you said, it is very shiny and polished, especially like Instagram, where you just get the highlights of somebody's life. Where if you don't see the lows, you don't appreciate the highs. And I think people like to follow a story.
Yeah.
People like to see that, and they're going to be rooting for you way more if they know, yeah, you went through some shit.
Yeah.
Here you are at the other end, and I can do the same.
Talking about going through shit, I believe that in life, the hardest experiences are the ones that make you. So I believe when you're going through really hard times or things are going wrong or it's a real struggle, that can actually be a good thing because you can build and learn from it. You get forged in the fire, as my gran would tell me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like that's so true, though. It when you've been through something like that, like a unique experience of pain or suffering or whatever it may be, what doesn't kill you does make you stronger. And then the next time around, you deal with it so much better. It's like the first time you lose a loved one. It sucks. It's always going to suck. The next time, you know, there's stages of grieving. You know, like this will pass and we're going to go through XYZ stage. And being prepared for that is a lot easier.
True, but it can be very different with different people. So I'm going to open up now. I've lost my mum, but I also lost my little brother. And it was two totally different kind of journeys of grief.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that.
Hey, no, it's like, I'm just being open and honest.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, apart from what's happened to you with your injury, which was obviously a massive thing. What's the hardest thing that you've ever been through that you've learnt from?
It's the hardest thing I've ever been through. I'd say that was very difficult. What's second to that? Just go back through the years. Even going through like redundancy is hard.
That's because that's a confidence knock, isn't it?
Massive confidence knock, because you're like, I'm doing a good job, but it wasn't enough. And it's not necessarily your fault. I mean, the company I'm talking about went into administration, so it's not necessarily a relay of my performance, but that sucks. Really does. That's another loss. But you just got to go, yep, cool, this has happened to me. On to the next. What can we do? How can we fight back? What's the next opportunity? Because everything happens for a reason. I'm a massive believer of everything happens for a reason. If I'd stayed in bodybuilding, I would have gone down that route, followed that path. And I genuinely don't think I would have been as successful as I am today. I am also like religious. So I believe in like God, and I think everything does happen for a reason. I wear a cross every day. I never take it off.
You Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think everyone has their own path, and everything genuinely, there is something sent and something happens and you're pushed and pulled. And everyone has a different opinion on religion. And it's a touchy subject for a lot of people to talk about. But what do you think about religion, Jess?
Are you interviewing me now?
Yeah,
That's
please.
cool.
Good question.
Yeah. I think I believe in a lot in meditation, in going quiet and asking. And where I've had turning points in my life, I've gone quiet into meditation. I've asked and an answer has come.
Nice.
Now, I don't necessarily call that anything other than believing that the answer will come to me. I go quiet. So, and I do also believe in vibration, getting onto the right vibration level for things to happen. And there's a lot of me that is spiritual, but I don't put a name to it, and I don't read a Bible, and I don't follow rules in that way.
Yeah.
But I do believe in the good sides to me with that I really love about religion, are people being kind to each other and helping each other in community. So there's a lot of good that can come from religion. But personally, I also believe we're a creator ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can create your own life.
I think it gives a lot of hope to people, religion. Because when life gets shit, you've got someone else to talk to. Or maybe it's just the voices in my head, I don't know, but you need to have that.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, I'm not going to church every Sunday. I'm training legs on a Sunday, but I really hope there is, because it's like, I lost my granddad last year, and things happen, and I talk to him now and again, and like I got all of his aftershaves when he died, and I wear them quite a lot, and it reminds me of him a lot. And I always, whenever I'm about to go do something big, I might speak to him quickly.
And I'm sure he's super proud of you.
And I hope he can see it.
Yeah.
Because he knew I was a little shit at school.
Yeah. But, a lot of us are, and then we grow up.
Yeah, that's it. And then you find it. And he always used to say that. He was like, you've done so much better than I thought. I was like, that's a backhanded compliment, but I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Just to kind of wrap it up, to finish here, what would be your top tips? Say if you were looking back on your younger self, like you're looking upon someone that needs a little bit of advice to get motivated, some personal development, something to really, give them some advice to be the best that they can be. What would your top tips be?
I think one of them is just find what you love and just find a way to make money out of that. Whatever it is, turn your passion into a profession, for sure. Whatever it is, there's always ways to make money out of what you love, and just stick at it. It might not be the biggest thing right now, but it might in a year's time or 2 years' time. You just got to keep growing and going. Next step. It's like fitness for me was great. Took it online, blew up, great. Social media was small. even my mum and a few others were like, I don't know why you bother with this Instagram and stuff. It doesn't make any money. And it didn't at the time. You did it for fun as a hobby. Next thing, bang, social media is the biggest thing in the world. Pandemic proved that. Every company wanted it. So just because someone else doesn't believe in your dream doesn't necessarily, it's not going to become a reality. You need to believe in your dream.
So find your passion, stick with it.
Yeah. Turn your passion into a profession.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And then they will say you never work a day in your life. You kind of do. Some days it's still hard work, but it's a lot easier than working a job you hate.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Well, thank you ever so much for coming on the Spark podcast, the first ever podcast we've done. It's been a pleasure. You're super easy to talk to. You've got your own inner spark. You're shining, which is awesome. And yeah, cheers. Thanks. And now I'm like, now it's all going to pot.
No, it's good. Leave that in. For sure. But no, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this. I've said a lot of stuff publicly now that I have never really admitted to either or spoke about. So I got some behind the scenes content for sure. Maybe it's the Prosecco. But no,
Thank you so much for sharing. I wish I didn't give you the Prosecco because I want it to actually just be because we're getting on and we're just.
Oh, it is. Don't get me wrong. Half a glass isn't going to touch the sides for me.
No, there you go. So yeah, well, it's been a pleasure to have you. So thank you so much for making the journey.
Anytime. And we'll do it again soon.
Namaste. Have a nice day. Join a dynamic community of driven entrepreneurs, professionals, and industry leaders who are passionate about growth and like-minded individuals who inspire, support, and empower you to reach new heights. Expand your network and connect with a diverse range of professionals across various industries. Increase your visibility and showcase your expertise and services in a relaxed atmosphere. Learn from industry experts, attend workshops, and stay ahead of the thread. Build genuine connections that can lead to new clients, partnerships, and collaborations. Boost your confidence. Surround yourself with a supportive community that believes in your success. So don't miss out on this opportunity to ignite your business growth. Join Spark Business Networking to unlock endless possibilities for your entrepreneurial journey. Spark Business Networking, where connections ignite success.